What is going on, everyone? AP over here at Run Pure Sports, bringing to you once again. We got the Lineup Builder show for tonight's Monday Night Football slate, which is going to be a really good game. I'm here with my guy Rubio, as always. Rubio, what is going on, my man? How was your Sunday?
Sunday was actually pretty solid. You know, I had a really good team with Justin Jefferson as the main guy who failed. So that was fun when you only get like 2 fantasy points from him or 4 or 5, whatever it was. But, you know, good time. We were high on the Bears, high on DJ Moore in general, Caleb Williams and stuff. I didn't quite get the biggest hit, you know, because our guy Travis Mangone had a 15K winner in the single entry too. And you know what he said he did, AP? He used the autofill feature in SaberSim. So that was good to see, you know, as someone who loves using the autofill feature, you know, Mangone using it as well. What you're getting is that more diversification across lineups and stuff. Hey, and you know, you just get one lineup that ends up very close to banking that, what was it, $100 entry, and turns that into 15K. So hopefully Monday is just as good. You know, we get the Chargers and Ravens tonight, which these are 2 of my favorite teams for DFS, AP.
I have to apologize if chat. Let me know if my connection's like unstable. I got something going on here, but I'm all good, right, Rubio? I sound fine. All right, I'm getting blasted by the screen. It's like connection unstable, showing like 2 or 3 bars, and I'm like, I have no idea. Anyways, I digress. Yeah, shout out to Mangone. Congrats to Mangone. We bullied him. Well, DC, we're on the Up to Lock show. We were talking about the Dolphins, pretty big stand. Looking at on the Dolphins players, especially Jalen Waddle, we made a big case on that. We bullied Mangone into bumping up his Jalen Waddle exposure. I had too much Tyreek Hill, which was fine. I had too much Kareem Hunt. I returned 50% of my buy-ins, which again, it's not what we want to do. We want to win, but the style that I play, I take big stands, and I thought Tyreek Hill was in a great spot. And look, like we needed a bit more of a back and forth type of environment in that game. We didn't get that at all. Dolphins are really starting to find something, and they look like a good football team, which, you know, you like to see. You want to see that team be competitive for sure. I love tonight's game. I got the base build up. We just ran it as we were going live on the show. What is a base build? A base build is using the preset projections that are in there right out of the gate, not looking at anything, not changing anything. We're running it using generic settings. We're sorting by highest projected. We're doing this to get kind of an overview of the slate. We want to look at baseline roster construction, maybe a little bit of an insight into what the field is going to do. I love this matchup. I love Ravens slates because they have a great offense, they have a terrible defense, and they are completely a pass funnel. And so when you get teams that have pretty clear and defined somewhat target trees, it makes it somewhat easy to target them. Going back to last week with the Bengals, we knew it was going to be one of the receivers. T. Higgins, I believe, was the guy that went off. We knew that you had to run it back with or you likely need to run it back with Lamar Jackson. For me, these slates are a little bit easier to put together. So some of the pieces are already there. We just got to find those little pieces to get different. And I like slates like that. And I think that's what we have tonight. Rubio, base builds up, completed. Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Will Dissly. Oh my gosh. I mean, if I core captain a tight end again, JBC is going to kick my ass. He was already making fun of me last night. I was wiped out last night too. It was a long weekend for AP in the AP household, but I'm not going to be captaining a tight end. I'll just tell you that. And then Derrick Henry, what's your thoughts right now? And I have 35, so I'm running 35 builds tonight. That's typically what I do. And so I'm just going to keep it with that right now. But what's your thoughts right here with what we're getting at the captain spot?
Yeah, I mean, it is very interesting that both quarterbacks are hitting at the very top, but it also makes a lot of sense. I mean, you can make the argument that Ladd McConkey is not like a dominant wide receiver one, right? Like in the same sense of Zay Flowers. Like if Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson both get 25 points, there's a chance that neither of those guys really do anything. And that's been the case. I mean, McConkey did okay last game against the Bengals, 6 for 123. It was great, actually, but he didn't outscore Herbert. You also have to look at Lamar. He's been amazing. He can get it done with his legs and stuff. And so what that does is it makes quarterback captain way more viable than usual tonight, AP, especially when you have a guy like Lamar. I mean, let's be honest here. Lamar is top tier DFS material. We know exactly what we want out of him. We want to jam him in at the captain. We don't really need, multiple weapons with him in that sense. But if I'm playing Herbert in the captain, I think I would want 2 pass catchers at the very least. The big thing, too, he looks healthy. Herbert does. And he got it done with his legs a little bit. I think the price gap is still probably a little too close. I think I would definitely prefer Lamar over Herbert. I think you saw last game that the Chargers got a little bit exposed by the Bengals. The Chargers have not had a very tough schedule at all. And the Bengals were able to move the ball on them often last game. And I think the Ravens are going to be able to kind of do the same thing. And I love both these teams for DFS. But I do think the Baltimore Ravens are going to be able to move the ball here against the Chargers team and vice versa. I expect a high-scoring game here, AP. Both quarterbacks being the top guys makes a lot of sense. Derrick Henry's fine, but I think I want the quarterbacks. I think Zay Flowers and McConkey would probably be my top 4 guys at the first look, and then it would be Derrick Henry as my 5th guy there, AP.
Yeah, so the Chargers have been pretty good against, I would call your stereotypical running backs like pass catching running backs have had some success. Chase Brown last week, he did quite well. Alvin Kamara, basically from a volume standpoint. But then you got, James Conner is so dynamic. It's these Derrick Henry games. It's, if it's like I feel like if it's going to be a Derrick Henry game or not, kind of right out of the gate in the first half. Like if he gets downfield and starts going and you don't have him, you're like, oh gosh, like I'm screwed. So that's going to be an interesting discussion point. Just going back to last week, and this kind of cements my my thought on these slates seem clearer, and I'm talking about against the Ravens. When you look at it, you're often seeing opposing wide receiver. It's Lamar captain or it's wide receiver captain. Like even the game with the Bengals, and this is, I'm talking about the Chargers defense, a good defense. Still, it was T. Higgins captain, Joe Burrow, Will Dissly, Ladd McConkey, Justin Herbert. So 2 quarterback optimal with a lot of receivers or pass catchers in there, no running backs. Last night, optimal, interesting. It was no quarterback. Rubio, that's what got me. I had plenty of Saquon captain. I had Hurts like locked. I thought, Hurts has been so good.
Stafford was in the winner. What was the optimal?
I looked at it. Maybe I was wrong. Okay, maybe I was wrong. I think I looked at it before that last drive. Last drive, I don't think there was. So yeah, someone likely got screwed. My apologies. Good for correcting me there. Anything else?
No, I think we're good.
Flex.
Yeah, we're good starting on these guys. I think like when you look at the percentages here, though, AP, like Gus Edwards is 2,800. You kind of had the same. What was it? I wouldn't call it fool's gold because he wasn't a bad play against the Bengals, but like they don't have a goal line back, like in the sense of Gus Edwards is going to get the rock, right? No, it was Hassan Haskins, and then it was J.K. Dobbins at the goal line and stuff. Like I don't know, like 2,800 Gus Edwards when he's probably going to be very limited in the passing game, probably being fairly heavy chalk, is probably going to be one of the more interesting things. But we'll have to see if we have value that we can discuss later on to like kind of pivot away from that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And actually, I did speak. It was the wonky Steelers game. Chris Boswell for that game specifically was in the captain.
Yeah, you saw it yesterday, right?
What?
0 was in the optimal. It was Britton Covey. He was in the winner with the 0 fantasy points. Yep.
Yeah. That was last night's optimal was Barkley, Stafford, Puka, AJ Brown, Jake Elliott, and then a $200 player with a 0, 155. Yep. Used all the salary, 5,000 salary. Really, really interesting there. In my pool of players, I know I had the 200s in there and all of them got zeros, but I did not have that right combination. In hindsight, Saquon, AJ Brown,
it's a very easy
Stafford, Puka. In hindsight, yeah, it's you would think that you could get to it, but hindsight's always 20/20, as we know. Let's get into it. Let's go position by position. Let's start our new build. Let's add a contest sim in here as well. We'll do the 500K up top. I always like the $15 over the 20. Do you have a preference in that?
Yeah. Cheaper the better. Did you see Thursday
Yeah.
what we got, AP? We got a $5 Millie Maker for the
Awesome.
Thanksgiving slate. So $5, you can
like
really just test out Saber with that too, or you can just do some 20 maxes and then throw it in there too. But it's fun.
Yeah, I liked it. Cheaper the better. Allows us to get different. All right, let's talk quarterbacks. We got the flex up. Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert. Right out of the gate, I mean, and we're using SaberSim projections. I'm a little surprised that there isn't a little bit more separation between the two. 20.6 for Lamar Jackson, 20.39 for Justin Herbert. What's your initial impressions with these projections?
No one loves Justin Herbert more than I do. I mean, my God, he's one of my favorite quarterbacks, man. But this is too close. Like come on now. Let's be real here. Lamar should be 3 points higher than Herbert. And this is, again, I think Justin Herbert's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I think what we saw last game against the Bengals was a theme of what he can do moving forward. But let's be honest, there's levels to this. Lamar's the MVP for a reason. He can get it done with his legs a little bit more than Herbert can. Even though Herbert looked great, running down the field for what was it, like a 30-yard gain against the Bengals, a 38-yard gain against the Saints earlier in the season and stuff. I just want Lamar Jackson to be 3 to 4 points higher. But that being said, we know what we want to do against this Ravens defense, right? You throw the ball against this Ravens defense. That's how you move it. You don't really run the rock. Their secondary is really fragile, really weak. I can see Herbert picking apart this defense in the same way he did against the Bengals on Monday night last week. Or Sunday night last week. And I just think that, both these quarterbacks I'm going to want heavy exposure to, AP. The problem becomes price tag wise. These guys are, Lamar is underpriced. I think you could argue at 11K. But I think Herbert is kind of correctly priced. It's not like you're getting a discount on both quarterbacks. Like Stafford last night was 9K, which hindsight 2020, even though the Eagles have a really good defense and stuff, a trail script and one of his receivers ended up being in the winner because, look, that it was just that simple. Like, he's going to be trailing. He's going to be forced to throw the entire game, even after Kyron Williams had a touchdown run and had a great first quarter and stuff. It's just you're not getting that same cheap quarterback play. But both these guys, I'm really going to want heavy exposure to. Herbert, Lamar. I mean, it's going to be tough to not click on both in the main team tonight, AP, because they are just that good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back to the game against Pittsburgh last week. It was a weather game, right?
The Pittsburgh game?
I mean, it was a divisional game.
A divisional game, yes.
It was a divisional game, but I swear the weather wasn't that good. I could be wrong. We've seen quarterbacks smash.
Weather was not really an issue at all. Chris Boswell
wasn't an issue.
Yeah, it was Lamar. The Steelers' defense just being that good, but they also forced Lamar to try and beat him with his arm. They didn't really allow him very many running lanes and stuff. And the Pittsburgh kind of gave the playbook on how to beat him in the regular season.
Yeah, you just wondered because they did pretty good against Russ Wilson. And again, I kind of throw some of those games out, divisional games. Teams know each other very well. Outside of that, quarterbacks have been smashing against this Ravens. The Ravens' secondary defense entirely has been the worst in the league when you look at it from a just pure fantasy standpoint, giving up fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. They ranked 31st. Not good. The same can be said. And again, I'm looking at this Joe Burrow game. Joe Burrow's been awesome. He really has, especially over the last few games. Their defense has been really bad. So, and then when you look at it, a few running backs have had, like at the start of the season, the Ravens were the best team in the league by far against running backs. We've seen a little bit of success. You got a revenge game with J.K. Dobbins and Gus the Bus Edwards. It's going to be very interesting. Running back twos have done pretty decent against them. So I think that's where the interesting part of this discussion will be. I do think clearly what I want to do against the 49ers, the Chargers, is bump up Lamar. Are you good with this projection? Do we need to get even more aggressive than this?
Let's be slightly more. Let's pump them each up 1 point. Let's just do that real quick.
Okay, we're building our overscript as well, right?
Yes,
all right. So here's another point, Rubio. Outside of last game, against Steelers, obviously tough spot. Lamar's floor has been 23 fantasy points basically all season long. So it's not like we're aggressive on it, but again, I think there's a lot of room to go up. So we'll bump him up. You good with that?
Yeah, very much so. And you're exactly right about Lamar. Like, this is a mark that he's hit way more often than not. Also, good point on the J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards stuff. Greg Roman will also have a lot to prove tonight. This is a very personal game for the Chargers, I would say, especially their coaching staff. Like, you look at Greg Roman, you look at the running backs here. There was not a lot of kind things said about Greg Roman. He was thrown under the bus completely in Baltimore. I think he was kind of the scapegoat for, Lamar, that's why he struggled in the playoffs because of the offense coordinator. You know what? That's why he's not a great passer, whatever. I think Greg Roman's really going to have a point to prove tonight, the offense coordinator for the Chargers. And it'll be very interesting to see how that kind of unfolds, AP.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sorry, I cleaned it up. You got to remove the players. I don't want to tilt you, Rubio.
It's all
All
good.
right, running backs. Derek, this is the interesting discussion. Similar to last night, I was doing my stuff, and I'm like, it's going to be a Saquon Barkley night. What do we do? That's a little bit different because we've seen some positive correlation between Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. And it's been more so when Barkley goes off, usually Jalen Hurts has had a decent score. Not typically the case when you flip it around. And on the flip side, with Jalen Hurts scenario, it's when he vultures him, when Barkley goes down to the one, which we've seen outside of last night. We've seen a lot. Derrick Henry, 17.65, has had kind of a bit of a rough stretch of late. A lot of that, game flow dependent, you could call it. Lamar having to use his legs, use his arms a little bit more. And then we have the Chargers situation. We have Justice Hill. That I think it's an interesting conversation. Same with Keaton Mitchell. This was a guy that was extremely explosive. I'm surprised they haven't used him a little bit more.
Well, there was a comment on that from Harbaugh too. Like, he's only been back for 2 weeks, and he actually came back sooner from his torn ACL. I think I was kind of expecting him back like in a week 12 situation, not week 10 and stuff. And so last week, this is the coach speak on Keaton Mitchell. On Keaton Mitchell only getting a couple snaps. He's only been back for 2 weeks from that knee injury. We want to get him involved for sure. We only had 52 or 53 plays yesterday, and that was against the Steelers, AP. I think you can expect to see like 3 to 4 touches for Keaton tonight. But, like, we have to remember, like, he is coming off a major knee injury, and this is his third game back, and it's probably, within 15, 16 days? That's tough.
What was his snap count last week? Do you have that? Let me pull it up.
He didn't get a touch. I know that.
Oh,
I don't know the snap count itself because this is an interesting point, too, on Justice Hill. Like, if you think the Chargers are going to win this game, that's going to leave Justice Hill in potentially a chase script. And you see this team script out Derrick Henry when they are losing. It's not like Derrick Henry stays in when they're down 14 and running the offense fast. You saw last week. And I think it's a good move personally because, look, 2-minute drill against Pittsburgh, 5 minutes left in that game, basically. They had to run a quick offense, up-tempo, stuff like that. They scored. Justice Hill had 2 big catches on that drive. I think one of them was for a first down, too, and stuff. Like, Justice Hill is the pass-catching back. And I don't think Keaton Mitchell interferes with that on the important situation. So you look at Justice Hill, half the ownership of Gus Edwards. Like, he's not going to be, as reliable for a touchdown or anything like that. But what you can do is script it for a Chargers win. Hope that Justice Hill is in a chase script and gets a few catches out of the backfield because we know how much Lamar loves targeting his running backs. I mean, we've seen it a lot this season, but especially a guy like Justice Hill is always around the line of scrimmage and stuff. He is an interesting play at 3,200 AP.
I agree 100%. I just think brother versus brother, like, I know, like, we know the pieces that we're going to want tonight. Lamar, the pass catchers for the Chargers. Okay, I'm not talking about some of these like Keaton Mitchell, Justin Hill. We're not talking captain. It's how do we get different in the flex? Because I know what I want my captain pool to look like. Lamar, Ladd McConkey, receivers. I would throw Zay Flowers in there, etc. I'm looking at Keaton Mitchell. This is a guy that was so dynamic, and maybe it's a moot point and not really relevant because he's 2,000 and not like 400. So I don't want to waste too much time on it. But how do they not get him involved? He was incredible, I thought, last year. So, anyways, we want to the script that we're kind of building right now. I think we both lean the Chargers side and we lean points. What do we do with the Henry's projection? I think it's fine as is. I don't want to like full fade the guy.
I want to
bump him
sell.
down.
I want to sell
on him
just a little
slightly.
bit, right? And so this is why I want to sell. I want to get him down. I want to get him that 16 perfect, like, right? I want there to be a gap between the quarterbacks and Derrick Henry. I think SaberSim, I can trust it to give me exactly what I want. It's not going to give me a ton of Derrick Henry, but at the same time, like I don't really want a ton of Derrick Henry. Same with J.K. Dobbins. So AP, we say this is a pass funnel and stuff. J.K. Dobbins was.
Let's go all in on our script.
He was not good against the Bengals. He hasn't been good for a few weeks now. And this is someone who drafted him a ton in best ball and is happy anytime he gets double-digit fantasy points. But he broke away a garbage time touchdown run against the Bengals when the Bengals were basically I'd almost when he got like closer to the end zone, it was like let him score. They didn't let him score off the first rip or anything like that, but there was definitely more he could have easily just had a mediocre game despite having a touchdown. And like that's my concern with J.K. Dobbins. You also have two other backs who can get work. Gus Edwards, Hassan Haskins getting the goal line work and stuff. 10K for J.K. Dobbins is not great in this economy. And if I get beat by J.K. Dobbins, hat tip, right? I don't think he's a very good player. If I get beat by Derrick Henry, well, at least I knew that was coming. Like, like Derrick Henry's a fade where you just kind of have to just, put on the blindfold and be like, okay, if he beats me, hat tip, like he's one of the best running backs in the game. But if J.K. Dobbins beats me at 10K, I'll be a little bit salty, but that's about all. Justice Hill, Gus Edwards. I like the Justice Hill one. I like the chase script. I like how you can script that. Keaton Mitchell, if I see 3 to 4, maybe 5 touches in this game, I think that's a very interesting one because he can make a big play at any time. He is one of the quickest guys in the league. He's a great pass catcher. Eastern Carolina, rep. He was just a stud in college, right? Comes in against the Jaguars and was going really well. I think he had a few touches in that game, both a few big plays, and then he blew out his knee. I want that that little bit of unknowingness, AP, at 2K. No one's going to play him tonight. I want to kind of capture that, but I also want to be very realistic that I think a max of like 5 touches is probably in the cards. But he is definitely one of the more interesting running back plays at 2K. Gus Edwards, I mean, it's fine chalk. I can see Greg Roman getting Gus Edwards a touchdown here on the goal line instead of giving it to Hassan Haskins, which that made no sense. I mean, Haskins,
I was about to bring that up. I don't know. I had no idea what they're doing on the goal line with it. They bring J.K. Dobbins in, and he gets right in. Like, I think that experiment. This is not the game that you make a wish kid, get him out there.
Well, he did it 2 games ago, so like it was almost like Hassan Haskins had this premeditated role of being the goal line guy, and 2 games ago he scored. And that was funny because, like, I remember, I always talk DFS with my friends and stuff. And, we're just talking. So, what do you think of Gus Edwards? I don't really know. It's like they can play 3 backs. Like, Hassan Haskins gets carries. It's not like it's just a 2-man backfield. Could that have changed after last week, after Hassan Haskins couldn't get into the end zone? Maybe. But that is definitely worthwhile. And you also have to mention, like, Hassan Haskins is 200. If you see a script like last night where a 200 guy got a 0 and was in the winner, I mean, he's fine. I don't know if we'll need that tonight. We have guys like Tucker Fisk who had a catch last week against the Bengals and stuff too. You also have Jalen Reagor played a decent bit of snaps. So yeah, we have options tonight, but yeah, that is very notable. You're on mute, AP, but great point.
Oh, donkey. Lab McConkey, the donkey. All right. You want to start with the Bolts side or the Ravens?
I want to start in the Bolts because
I think that's I agree with that. So we have a clear pass funnel. I love the pass catching options. Obviously, Will Dissly's been has been awesome, but not going to play him the captain tonight. I don't think.
Yeah.
Lab McConkey practice. I think he goes. Quentin Johnson. I mean, these are all great options. What are we doing with receiver, and what do you want me to do with the projections here?
All right. Big note here, right? Chargers threw the rock a lot against the Bengals. It was great to see. That's how you move the ball against the Bengals too. It was just one of those things where you just saw good things happen. Quentin Johnson had a huge play. He had 8 targets, only 2 catches, but one of those was for a touchdown. Same with Palmer and stuff. But McConkey was the true winner, the true breadwinner in the sense of this wide receiver room. 28 routes. Quentin Johnson led the team with 32, but 28 routes for McConkey. He was in almost the entire game. 9 targets, 6 for 123, showed up in the important spots, got hurt a little bit earlier in the game. I think he was hurt, and when Quentin Johnson scored his touchdown too. McConkey is a guy, AP, that I want to be high on. I think you bumped him up too. You bumped him up a couple points. It's perfect. Quentin Johnson bumped him up a couple points. Perfect. So this is the frustrating part. I don't know if Quentin Johnston is good, but I know Justin Herbert is good, and he'll find the open receiver. And volume against this Ravens secondary is all I want. So 7,400 after not being on Quentin Johnston last week against the Bengals, I'm much more on him this week at 7,400 because why? I want to pair Justin Herbert with some of his weapons. Disley at 6,400, that's a little on the high side, right? Like he looked great against the Bengals, but you have to remember only 18 routes. So, what did I say? Quentin Johnston 32, Palmer 29, McConkey 28. Disley's running about 55% of those routes, and he got 6 targets, which is great. But at the same time, after the first quarter, he didn't really do, a performance that would be worthy of 6.4K. So lower on Disley, higher on Palmer, QJ, McConkey. You did great there. Rieger, 9 routes. Fisk, 7 routes, and that's probably about it. I mean, Darius Davis had 2 targets, so this is very interesting about Darius Davis. I feel like they have a set motive that if he's in the game, get him in the space at least once, right? And they did it, I think it was like a little screenplay that he turned into 14 yards against the Bengals there. Darius Davis would be someone that I buy on AP just because I think that they have a set play for him to get him the rock at least once. And he ran, just 3 routes, 2 targets. Like when he's in the game, you can expect him to maybe get the ball, which is
higher or lower than Jalen Reagor.
I think higher on Jalen Reagor because 9 routes. He had a target last game. It was down the field and stuff. But I think you just have to go with the routes in that situation. But Darius Davis is someone that I don't want forgotten, even at 1K.
Yeah. So we're buying on McConkey, Quentin Johnston. I like that. Palmer, slight buys, Reagor, Davis. Under on Disley. I think that looks pretty good. Let's go to the Ravens side, and then I want to compare them side by side as well, each team. Yeah. So this is like for me, it's getting the like we know Lamar is a piece to the puzzle, like that's the obvious one, but it's like it's like put a blindfold on and start picking who you want to go to. It's like Zay Flowers will look insane one game and then terrible the next game. So what do we want to do here on the Ravens side?
So I always say like Zay Flowers has probably been the most Jekyll and Hyde wide receiver in the NFL. And he does it in the same game. Like I think he's had 2 first halves, like over 25 fantasy points and then gooses in the second half. Like he is one of the most absurd DFS players, like they are just fantasy wide receivers to kind of deal with because you never know what's coming. The one note though, Zay Flowers is going to play the entire game. So look, at the end of the day, even though I'm not a fan of playing guys who are inconsistent, Zay Flowers is going to have some of the best upside on the slate. You have seen it. If he puts 2 halves together, he's going to be in line for a great game. So I want to buy on Zay Flowers, right? And we're going to still have him slightly below Derrick Henry, slightly below McConkey. But I do want him in that 15 range because I want him above QJ. He is still Lamar's guy. With the wide receivers, it's going to be a little bit frisky in a sense. But I also wanted to bring this up, AP, because Rashad Bateman, is he in this week? Because that was the news thing that I should have checked before I came on the show. But Bateman, didn't he get banged up a bit last week? No, he's fine. Okay, never mind. We're good. Doesn't have an injury designation heading into the game. He ran 30 routes. So this fear of Deontay Johnson potentially stealing that role is kind of a moot point now. But I do have to say, Deontay Johnson ran 6 routes last week. He was open on a pair of them. Lamar missed him on a touchdown to the left pylon there last game, and it could have easily been 6. This is, again, his 3rd week with the team, or 4th week with the team, maybe. I think it's the 3rd one. He is a guy that I don't like. I want to be higher. I don't get it.
Well, I know. Like, why aren't they using him? Like, I don't like Snyder. We need your comments on this. Like, I made fun of the trade a little while back, but it was mainly as a joke, and now it's like becoming serious. Like, I don't know what they're doing with him. He was insane with the Panthers. He was so good.
Well, I think the issue here is it was his 3rd week, right? So we want to give a little bit of leeway to these adjustments, right? Getting traded to a team is really hard. It's not like the NBA where you just step into a high usage role, you dominate, you're easily in the court with your teammates for 36 minutes. Like you only get a few chances to shine, even when you're out in the field a lot. Like if Deontay Johnson, AP, if he gets half the routes this week, like if he gets half the routes of Flowers or Bateman, like let's say he gets a dozen routes, that's very, very well worth 3K. And he was open a couple times. Lamar didn't do Deontay Johnson any favors. I want to buy on Deontay. I want to get him in that range of like 4 to 5 because look, when you look at a slate,
Yeah,
Where's
that's
the
definitely
uncertainty
mine.
coming from? Where's everyone going to have the same projections? It's the top. It's the quarterbacks, it's the running back stuff. Where's this uncertainty at? It's Deontay Johnson. If his role increases, his production will increase. Whose role suffers, AP? Well, it's Nelson Aguilar. Nelson Aguilar would probably lose snaps in the event that Deontay Johnson plays a little bit more. Rashad Bateman, his snap count's very safe. The tight ends are very interesting too, because you look at last week, 18 routes for Andrews, 17 for Likely. Likely had the much bigger game, 75 yards to Andrews' 22. You know who's going to get the rock at that point, but Deontay's the one guy that I really want to buy on here.
This is another thing I don't mind doing with teams where you have kind of a not so clear target tree. Ravens being one of them, one of the best examples. I'd put Broncos up there. I mean, outside of Cortland Sutton, but it's like bring the projections kind of close to each other. Let the Sims do its work. I brought Isaiah Likely up, Mark Andrews down just slightly. I love those. It's truly a coin flip. Zay Flowers is the alpha that could, he would be my captain, the guy I would, out of all of these guys, the guy I would most want the captain on the Ravens side, him or potentially Bateman. But yeah, I like being bullish on Deontay Johnson. More so like I don't understand. Like they got to unleash him. They got to get him out there, make things really difficult. The other argument that you could make is more weapons out there. Maybe it frees up Zay Flowers as well. So anything you want me to change? Or are you good with these adjustments?
I think,
and I agree with Steven. A lot of mouths to feed.
Yes.
100% agree with that. And it's not clearly defined which mouth is going to get fed. Like we do know Lamar is going to get fed. We just don't know who else is. So, and that's the game that we're trying to play right now.
So can you do me a favor? Can you just, so that way we have our color coded here. Can you do 3.2 for Nelson Aguilar, just so he has a red mark on his name?
Yeah.
That's very nitpicky. I understand. I like the color coordinator to see.
I'm the same way. Then I can easily see who am I buying on, who am I selling on.
That's kind of the point of the show. Yeah. Like the buying and selling. And so let's put both teams together. Let's just see where we got so people can kind of see those projections there too.
Yeah. Good call. So we agreed McConkey the highest, right?
Yep.
Or should we bring him down? That's kind of aggressive, right?
It's a little aggressive, but I think bump him and QJ just down 1 point because we got QJ up 3 points too, which we're still going to get plenty of QJ, but kind of keep more in line. Like so, AP, like the more you rise a guy, like even if you only bump him up like 0.1 in Saber, you're going to get like way more of that guy.
Oh, I know.
It's very funny. It's like that's why like my NBA changes have been like instead of like 2-3 points, it's like I'm going to bump him up a half point. You'll just see it rain into your lineups and stuff.
My main slate process, one thing I love doing is I do like a macro overview of the slate. I do that when I'm doing the playbook. And then what I do is I go to the team stack section where you can adjust the totals. And then I buy, and the teams that I love, I'll bump up 3 points. The teams I don't like, I'll bump down. And I use that as like a baseline projection just to see. I think it's an interesting way to create some different projections from the field that are more towards your own bias and what you feel the games are going to flow. So I'm with you though on the green and red. So all right, let's keep this going. Let's go to the defenses, kickers. Which again, kickers. I think this is going to be a game where kickers are definitely involved. Justin Tucker. I mean, he can't go another game with. If he misses more field goals here, they got to do something, right? Even though Justin Tucker's the kicker goat. I mean, what do we do with this?
If there was one guy I can trust to fix his game, it would be Justin Tucker. But he has been a little bit wild at times this season, AP. It's been a little bit concerning where, look, both those were fairly long field goals. I mean, they weren't like overly long against the Steelers or whatever, but he pulled them both left. I'm confident that he'll fix it. He's one of the best in his profession for a reason. But if he does miss tonight, if he does miss a couple tonight, I'd be very concerned. But if there's someone that you can kind of trust to ride the boat, it's him. You have two of the best kickers here too. Both Texas, right? Then Tucker went to Texas as well as Cameron Dickers. So the school factory of kickers there. Both are great. Ravens D, Chargers D. This is where it kind of gets a little bit, I wouldn't say nitpicky, but like we both see an over. However, one mistake can lead one of these defenses optimal. I don't want to like sell on them completely, but at the same time, we're going to be under on the defenses tonight. I like the kickers where they're at. But yeah, I mean, like both these kickers are just fine.
I think we bump up. So again, it's random. Baltimore's allowing almost 2 field goals per game. You could take that for what it is. Potentially due to, being better in the red zone, limiting teams, that touchdown upside. And then again, we see far more fantasy points in these dome games, indoor games from the kickers. I think it's like a 20 to 30% increase. I'm looking at some, at least for Cameron Dicker, it has been. So I'm going to bump him up just a little bit, and Tucker will give a slight bump too, because we want points, and field goals are a way to get some points. What about the defenses? I don't want to fade defenses. I want them in our portfolio. So my thought is just blindly increase both a little bit. But Justin Herbert, man, he's taking care of the football right now. So I don't want to get crazy with it.
Yeah, I am with you there, AP. I think this is one of those things too, where it's we can just bump them down 0.01 just to show we're selling, but at the same time, we're not completely.
I mean, talking about this, Justin Herbert, how many picks does he have in the season? It's not many. It has to be under 2 or 3. I could be way wrong, but he has been incredible. If anyone has that number, throw it in chat. I'm going to say under 2 picks, interceptions, not picks.
Yeah, I like it.
Sorry, you said be slightly under?
Yeah, just very slightly under the defenses here.
Let's do this. Lamar can get, we're playing a lot of Lamar. Let's just buy a little bit on the Chargers side and sell a little bit on the Ravens side. I'm good with that. All right, let's bring this all back together and let's build. We'll go 2,000. Keep it quicker. Talk to us about what we have left on what we have content-wise for today, Rubio.
Yeah, so after this, you're going to have the Showdown Kings show at 2 p.m., followed by the Print Factory, the Monday Night Football Print Factory at 3:30. So you'll have JBC Wiley on the Showdown Kings. You'll have JT, JSU, and Big T at the 3:30 show. And then you have an NBA Block show at 6 p.m. today, going over the NBA slate. Also have a whole bunch of written content on the site as well. And also, tweet just went out, Giblets 44. 44% off your first purchase here at Run Pure Sports. Happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving. And Black Friday sale is active. So, yeah, basically, Giblets 44% off your first purchase here, whether it's a week or a month. That's it. One interception for Herbert. Wow.
Rubio, one question for you. When you run the Sims now, it auto filters by a blanket ROI. Right?
Yeah. So if
if you don't go to your specific contest, it's just a blanket because it's sorted by ROI right now, and that's just in general, right? Am I reading that right?
Well, so in this case, since you only did one contest, it would be for that one contest. Nothing would change.
Okay, gotcha.
Did we run I don't think we ran the contest sims just yet, though. So we don't have any of those numbers in there and stuff, but it will auto adjust there.
Oh, that's what I did. Maybe I didn't.
No, we ran the teams, we ordered the show, and then we didn't run the contest just yet. But if you use the autofill feature, and this is one thing, I kind of want to understand it more. I don't want to change the process at all, but if you do that,
look at that, no changes.
Yeah, 20 lineups. Look at that.
So okay. All right, so I only did one, and so I don't even need to change it because it's already.
It shouldn't adjust. It shouldn't adjust, but try it. Hit the flagship MME and then ROI just to show that because it was only one contest, it wouldn't change. If it was multiple,
so I want to try something.
It changed.
Yeah, I don't. So let's go back. Let's see if it. Okay.
Wait, we didn't sort by ROI at first, did we?
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm trying to piece.
We're good now. We're good. So if my question though is, let's just say I select a bunch of these and then I leave it in that this target contest. Will it just average all of the contests, or how does that work?
It will. Well, so it will optimize basically setting each lineup in the best possible way. So here's an example. You did a single entry and you did a Millie Maker entry, right? It wouldn't probably dupe those because usually you want your single entry to be different than your those mass multi when you're mass multi entering and stuff. But if you did like 320 maxes and stuff, but they're different field sizes, let's say one's 5,000, one's 20,000, one's 80,000. What it will do is it'll populate the best lineups for that contest, the best ROIs, and sometimes it might dupe. You might end up with 33 lineups where you have some that are duped, but some that are on their own in each of those contests too. So it diversifies it a little bit more. That is like the success that I've had is like I'm not just running a blanket ROI of like one contest, and it allows me to kind of get a little bit different that way, especially in NBA. And the late swap thing is so easy as well.
All right. I like how this looks right now. We're getting a lot of Lamar, and I'm going to love Lamar tonight. We got aggressive with his projection, but again, think back to the process that we went through. We were aggressive throughout on the skill position players, still getting a lot of Lamar. Absolutely love it. I like this breakdown. This is really aligns with kind of what I do. The two quarterbacks, it's interesting just because of our projected game flow. Lamar rushing upside as well. Like I can definitely get on board with 60% of my portfolio going into Lamar Jackson captain, within just like sprinkles of these other players, skill position players like Zay Flowers, probably not Justice Hill, but crazy things happen. I would rather it be like 60% Lamar than a smidge of Herbert, and then Quentin Johnson, McConkey, Bateman, etc. What's your thoughts on this breakdown right now?
I think this is similar to what we want. I want Lamar Jackson the most at captain tonight. That's not a bold take, right? He's best quarterback for fantasy football right now. Great play, right? When you look at these lineups, I look amazing, AP. Even though it like doesn't have a ton of McConkey and stuff, like look at that one there too. Like it doesn't have double quarterback.
Oh,
like these builds make sense, especially if you have Lamar a captain here with a few of his weapons, Justice Hill and a trail script. And this kind of goes to the point where like Gus Edwards does make a lot of sense. If you think the Ravens lose, like hopefully he gets a touchdown there, and like you're kind of minted on like what you want. It just makes a lot of sense. Like there's a Deontay Johnson one. That's interesting. Can you hit the plus on Deontay Johnson for me?
Yeah, I don't like this one. I'll say that.
I want to see if
I don't think it's like a 5-1 night. Like I don't usually eliminate 5-1s, but I might tonight. You want to see which? Who?
Just the Deontay Johnson lineups, but I want to see like one where it's like a 4-2 or a 3-3. So you have
captain or in the flex?
Flex for sure. Yeah. He would be one of those interesting captains. I don't know if I could do it. So Lamar, Zay Flowers, stuff. Look at that one. Okay, that one might be one of my favorites. I think it kind of grasps the
this is
the unknowns. Yeah, like it's 100%. One of those things where you think the Ravens are going to be trailing. They might have to line up in 3 wide receiver sets a little bit more. Get Justice Hill out there a lot instead of double tight ends with Andrews and Likely. That's an interesting one. I think it scripts out perfect. Herbert's getting it done through the air and stuff. If you were nitpicky, you'd be like, well, is that all the touchdowns for Los Angeles? Maybe not. Like you don't have Lamar's number 1 tight end or his number 2, 1, 2, and 3 receiving options, but that is very fine to me. And there's a Josh Palmer captain one, which I think is viable. Yeah, I like these. I mean, like Deontay Johnson is going to be one of my different plays tonight.
Yeah, and 2 dupes versus no dupes per 2,000. Yeah. So if you run 5,000, you're likely to get some dupes there. That one, I agree with you. That one build is really nice. With how I play, I might just, and I know this probably isn't correct, but I do like to take more stands. And again, if I'm going to be under on a guy like Derrick Henry, it's not like I'm playing 150. If we're playing 150 into the 20, it's a completely different mindset. But when I'm playing 35 or 20 or 25, I'm still playing with that mindset that I have 150 going in, which means I have to take more stands. If I'm under on a Derrick Henry, and if he smashes, I'm toast anyway. So I might just full fade Derrick Henry to allow for myself to build more builds, kind of like this. In the same sense, I would then be very, very buying on Justice Hill because you do see kind of a negative correlation between those two. Anything else that you want to see here? Any other players? I mean, I don't mind this. I mean, yeah, if you're going to play Herbert captain, I definitely want at least 2 pass catchers in there. I don't hate 3, and 0 dupes per 2,000 is not bad.
Yeah, no, I do like
No
that.
Lamar though. That's the man. Like no Lamar. How does the game flow out when Lamar isn't even flex viable? You gotta consider that.
If you can, let's go look at potentially like a Derrick Henry build. I want to see if we get any Derrick Henry across 35 for you. What does that look like in the flex?
Let me just change it to 150.
Yeah.
You want to see flex or captain?
Flex will work. I'm not too worried about captain because it kind of funnel the same way Lamar did. I mean, they're very similar price tag and stuff. I want to see what a Derrick Henry flex lineup looks like here because what am I fading with him? It does. Do they have
one? I didn't like that one.
I mean, it's interesting too. So this is where like Deegs had a point too, talking about 5-1s and stuff. If you are playing Derrick Henry, like it could lead like a little bit like that way. Like it definitely could. That
forward on.
Yeah.
Wait, the problem with that is pricing on the Bolts side. They're just too cheap, and the Ravens' defense has been so bad. So if you believe somehow that the Ravens are going to come in and just absolutely demolish them, I think it could work. This Ravens defense has been so bad. So I definitely get it. I definitely get what Deegs is saying too. But like an onslaught build where they just destroy, I could see it work. The thing that I think is more likely in a Ravens winning script is a Lamar or Henry captain and then 4 from the Bolts side. I would rather see that in my Derrick Henry builds. Is there a way to do that in Saber? I mean, that's kind of a complex rule. Like to have that specific of a rule.
There could be. I'm not exactly sure about the rule.
Yeah, I'm not either. Bad question. Yeah. I don't want us to figure that out. I mean, the thing about these Derrick Henry builds is they are a lot of 5-1s. I mean, look at that.
Yep.
So like if I go in here to my team stacks and I just what did I do?
You know how you would get different though, because we were high on Justice Hill and Deontay Johnson. So like Gus Edwards could fill those to make those 4-2s and stuff. But you would want an early touchdown from a guy like Gus Edwards in this game to be pretty close.
Oh, I'm a donkey. I had Henry typed in there. All right, so if I go to team stacks and if we eliminate 5-1s,
that's true.
It's going to take Derrick Henry exposure down quite a bit.
You could like lock in the players like Andy said here and like rerun it in that sense instead of making a rule. I mean, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I like that. I used to do that in the past, run different types of scripts. Like I'd have 3 sets of scripts. I don't do that as much anymore. I just like to look at my builds as a portfolio of builds.
That top lineup, like real quick, that top lineup is probably going to be fairly chalky tonight. It's going to be a very chalky like first 3 plus 4, like maybe. It's got Isaiah Likely, but it could be any of the kickers. It's got Justice Hill, but it could be like Gus Edwards or Deontay Johnson and stuff. That's going to be like a very cookie cutter start. I think it's really easy to get both quarterbacks tonight, which I didn't know what to expect coming in, but getting both quarterbacks tonight is really, really easy.
Another thing too, if you're like me and you don't max these type of contests, so you're at this point with SaberSim. Here's something that I will do. If there's anyone like I know that I want the studs in the captain spot. Like I want a very defined captain pool consisting of guys that I feel have a lot of upside. I'll just X out some of these players. What I do before that, though, is I take a look at each player, see at least what the build looks like. So, like, let's do that with Justice Hill. You look at this build. We get Lamar. We get Herbert. We get Flowers, McConkey, and Cameron Dicker, the kicker. I don't know. I'm tempted just to let this one ride. Like, if Justice Hill breaks one off, like, catches one out of the backfield and takes it, 60 yards, I'm going to be kicking myself if I X that out. What's your thoughts on that?
It's very much like against the Bills, he caught a touchdown, right? So like it's within the realm of possibility that he gets a 5 for 50 in one game. Like let's say it's in garbage time too. He had 0 fantasy points before the last drive, but then he scores a touchdown. Like it's not unrealistic. But yeah, I'm fine with like especially just one lineup. Like it is something that I'm very comfortable with as well. Will Disley,
I'm not going to play Will Disley captain. He'd be one that I would X out.
Like it doesn't look that bad.
So what I would do just to show this is I would X him out. I've already accepted the fact that I'm not going with a running script in this game. Again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I move on to the next one. That's how I play. Is what it is. I like taking bold stands. I like this just because then I apply it. It'll bump up my exposure elsewhere. I review that and I kind of continue my process. I got more Lamar. I got more Quentin Johnson. What I might do then to take it a little bit further is, what if I'm fine with having a lot of Lamar? I want him to be the cornerstone of my portfolio, and then I want it to spread around. I don't know if you ever do this, Rubio, but sometimes what I will do is I'll just go, all right, let's just bump everyone down. These other guys, I'm going to use 10, just a random, number, and I don't think the others will matter too much, and I'll do it that way. So now I have a high concentration to Lamar Jackson with a sprinkle of everyone else around it, just to diversify myself just a little bit. Yeah, there's so many different things that you can do. Find a process that you like. I like playing like this, where I take some bold stands up top and then spread it around players that I like quite a bit. It's just something that I do in these spots where I know I'm going to want a lot of Lamar Jackson. So, any other final thoughts, comments from you, Rubio?
No, all good here. I'm ready.
And we're getting a lot of Justin Herbert with Lamar. I think it's a 2-quarterback night, so I am perfectly fine with that. All right, let's wrap this one up. Who do you got winning tonight, and who's your most important player?
Oh man, most important player, Deontay Johnson. I think that if there was a week for him to get increased run, fresh off a long week too, 8 days, was open a couple times last week. Deontay was missed on a touchdown from Lamar on the left pylon against the Steelers. I think he is going to be it might only be like double the field or whatever, but like he is one of my favorite like 3K tournament darts. Who do I think win tonight? Chargers. I think Harbaugh gets the better of his other brother. And we didn't even talk about the Harbaugh matchup. I'm going to go 31-27. Chargers win.
We're in line. I agree with you on those two things. I'll say Quentin Johnson. I like the price tag. I like the role. I like targeting this Ravens secondary. I do think the other most important players for me will be both RB2s, Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, kind of playing on that script. So again, inverse AP on this slate, go heavy on the running backs. And it's a win-win. Either our route wins that we're going down, or the running back smash. And it's NFL. It's a high variance sport. A lot of different things can happen. If we get it to where it's like a Henry captain with J.K. Dobbins in the flex, I'm not going to be doing well tonight, and I am perfectly fine with it. All right, Rubio, let's get out of here. Good luck tonight in your contest. We have a lot of content going on today. I will be back for the NBA show tonight. We'll be discussing some basketball. We got a great slate tonight. I'll be posting my bets a little bit later too, kind of running a little bit behind this morning, but we'll get caught up. For Rubio Dimes, I am AP. Good luck tonight. And as always, run Pier.